and welcome to Friday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. Oh, I didn't know my voice was going to be going today, but it appears it doesn't want to work. Oh, this isn't good. Especially as I've got a very special puzzle, I think, that I'm going to be trying today. This puzzle is called Acropora, and it's by Agent. And this has a 100% approval rate rating on Logic Masters Germany and some absolutely wonderful comments from the great and the good of the Sudoku community. I just snipped some of those just now. I thought I'd share them with you. So, I mean, many of you will be familiar with some of these names. KNT described it as really enjoyable and straightforward. I think we take that with a pinch of salt because KNT is a bona fide genius. So we can just, in fact, let's just delete this. Really enjoyable. Zendari really enjoyed it. Chili, top quality. Jesper, who's an absolutely brilliant solver and setter, truly wonderful. Mixo, lovely puzzle. Neverio, lots of fun. Pietato, a true delight. So, I mean, these are all people who know they're good Sudokus. And this is a very strange looking creature, isn't it, with these sort of pebbles outside the grid. I have read the rules through once. I think I understand what the pebbles are meant to show you. But yeah, I'll read the rules to you guys in a moment or two, and we can try and understand them together. And I'm afraid I have to confess, Acropora, I should know what that is. And Acropolis, oh, what's that? Oh, Acropora. In fact, look, have I got the? I haven't got the. Oh, I have got the dictionary open. Look, we can go and look it up. Acro. Well, acro means highest. It doesn't say so. Pora. I'm thinking of ampora. I should really know. That's not spelt right, is it? I should know. I don't think it's going to tell me. But maybe that's the highest passage or something. I don't know. Or the biggest hole. I should know. I should have done better preparation, shouldn't I? Anyway, this is the puzzle we're going to be trying. I don't have much news for you today. No birthdays. And over on Patreon, of course, we've got our monthly reward. Do check that out if you're a patron of the channel. You will enjoy it. I guarantee it. But why don't we get solving? I will read you the rules to this chaos construction puzzle by Agent. And let's see what is worthy of 100% in this day and age. Right, we've got each row, each column, and each region must contain the digits 1 to 9 once each. Regions must be determined by the solver. So we're going to have to somehow work out in this grid. Is that too many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, that's a 9 cell. That is 9 cells. So this would be an example of a region that would need to contain the digits 1 to 9 once each, and then we could have another region doing that, for example, and this would have to have the digits 1 to 9 once each, and then in each row, in each column, we've got to make sure we get the digits 1 to 9 once each. Now, what are these pebbles outside the grid? Right, clues outside the grid indicate the sum of digits in each contiguous segment of cells that belong to the same region in the respective row or column in ascending order, not necessarily in the order of appearance. And for a given row or column, either all clues or no clues are given. Right, what does that mean? Well, I think that means in row 1, there is a contiguous group of cells that sums to 32. But we don't know where they are. They could be on the right or the left because these are not given in the order that they appear in the row. They could be at either end. And then there is one other contiguous group of cells. And those of you who know the secret will know what the sum of that contiguous group of cells must be. So I think that's what we're being told. Now, for columns like this, it's really complicated because basically we're being told that no, actually that column is not. Actually, I'm not going to do that column. There's something interesting about that column, which is probably part of the solving. All right, let's do this column. So that's saying that there are 3 segments somewhere in this column that sum up to 9 or less. Then there's a segment that sums to 9, and then there's a segment that sums up to some number greater than 9. Now, the reason this gets difficult is you could do something like that, couldn't you? And then this would be a 30 for those of you who know the secret. Yeah, it's a very interesting rule set. But that's how it works, I think. And for some of these columns, look, none of the digits are given. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm noticing that whoever has set this up in our software has made it so that I can actually highlight and write numbers into everything outside the grid, which is, I don't know how they've done that, but that's very useful, because I'm actually going to be able to fill in these pebbles and keep track of what I need to do. But do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video, as usual. But now I get to play. Let's get cracking. I'm going to start off with the secret, because the secret I've seen is definitely worthy of comment, at least in 2 positions. Let's start with here. What is the secret? Well, the secret is something I only tell my favourite people. But if you're watching this video, of course you're one of those favourite people. And the secret is that any complete row, any complete column, and indeed any complete region of a Sudoku, because it contains the digits 1 to 9 once each, we know the sum of that column, row, or region must be 45. So in this row, there's a segment of digits that sum to 32, and there's a segment of digits that sum to 13. Now, it's not going to let me write 13 in. We're going to have to do this in a hybrid way. 3, we could do it like that. There we go. So that's telling us that there's a segment here, but we don't know which side it is, that sums to 13, and there's a segment that sums to 32. Now 32, here's an interesting thought. Yeah, you do not want to bump into me at parties. These are the things I do find interesting. But 32, I can't do that in 4 cells, because 9, 8, 7 and 6 only add up to 30. So this 32 must take 5 cells, and whether I start at the left or the right hand side, I'm always going to take this square. So this square is part of this clue. Now, is that right? So the 15 is the smallest clue in this column, because we're going in ascending order. Actually, that's a good point. Is it definitely true to say that clues ascend? Yes, okay. Alright, so that I might actually suggest we change the instructions of this a little bit, because I can see that when it says ascending order in the instructions, we're working towards the grid. So this clue is greater than this clue is greater, unless these are the same. This clue is the highest clue in this string. So in this string, the one closest to the grid is the highest clue. But that's only, I think, for certain because of this clue. Because I know this must be smaller, because I can't make this 33. That would imply that there were 65's worth of digits in row 1 of the grid, and there most certainly aren't. Right, but anyway, let's come back to what I think we can deduce from column 5. Therefore, the smallest clue is 15, which must be at least 2 cells. And this doesn't need to be the 15. This could be one of these clues, but it's obviously going to be 15 or greater. So this must be a 2-cell clue. Now, the other thought I'm going to have is this one. I noticed this when I was about to do the example in the introduction. The highest clue here is 9, but we know that every single segment in this column has got to be covered by a pebble. Now, if these were not all 9 clues, then this column would add up to less than 45, because if we max everything out here at 9, because 9 is the most these pebbles above this 9 could be, because we're going in ascending order towards the biggest one, which is this one. So if we were to make this 8 and the other 4 pebbles 9, we would only get to 44 as the total sum of digits in this column. So that's not going to work. We've got to highlight all of those, put 9 in, and okay, so what I'm seeing from that is that there is one segment in this column that is of 1 cell in size, the one that contains the 9. And then everything else is going to be a 2-cell segment that's going to be 4, 5, 3, 6, 2, 7 and 1, 8. So that one could be 4 9s as well. Sorry, so 5 9s altogether. that 9 there, I don't think precludes that. Yeah, I mean the minimum sum of this is 8. So if we stayed on 8 until we get to there, that would be 32, wouldn't it? 4 8's 32, and that would be a 13. Okay. I was wondering whether there was more of a restriction in that row, but I don't think there is. Oh, that was another strange noise from my throat. Well, these must both be 10, mustn't they? I don't know. Am I? Oh, I can probably do that with 0 in the middle, and then 1's in the corner. Is that going to put the 1's in the right place? Yes. Right. Right. And we know that the sum of the whole row is 45, so that's got to be a 5 by my reckoning. So in this row, right, yes, I can tell you something about this row. If we think about a 10 sum must be at least 2 cells, because it must be. The highest sudoku digit is 9. So each one of these pebbles represents a 2-cell sequence, at least. But that would mean those 4 pebbles are catering for 8 cells at least in this row. Well, they can't be catering for 9 cells, because then this 5 wouldn't be a separate segment. So what that means is that, well, it means that each of these 10s is a 2-cell segment, but of course we don't know the order, so we can't just write 5 in here and then make each of those dominoes add up to 10, because the 5 could live in the middle of the column or the middle of the row. Oh, this is tricky. This is really tricky. What about that one? Each one of these is at least 9, so that's yeah, but that's okay, isn't it? If that was a 1, say, then these could all be bigger. This is right. Okay, I haven't spotted how to get into this yet. There's got to be a way of thinking about this that we can avail ourselves of. So 13. See, that can be 4 cells, can't it? 9. Oh, hang on. How do we get into this? How do we do this? 9 in this column. So either... No, sorry, I've got absolutely nothing at the moment. I don't understand how to start this. How do we do this? How do we do this? Do we... Oh, right, this column. Okay, I should have picked this up, of course. If these are bigger than 15, or the same as 15, and there are 3 of them, they must both be 15, mustn't they? There we go, there's a tiny deduction. So that means this column, well, it means that bottom sequence must be at least 2 cells as well. Because whichever one of these 15s it corresponds to, it can't be a single cell set. Yeah, it's going to be stuff like this that I'm not quite thinking through clearly enough. So but that could be a 5, and then it could be a 3. Oh no, okay, that's not sensible either. Or hang on. Each one of these is at least 8. So the maximum size of this is 13. That's the absolute maximum. Oh, I see. Okay, so what I've got to do here Oh, I actually see something much more. Oh, goodness me. Right, I finally twigged something. Okay, let's think about the 32 in the top row. I don't know where it goes. I've not got a Scooby-Doo. But I know that it must grow, obviously. Whichever cells it takes, it must grow, because it's only going to be some subset of the 9 cells here. And that means when it grows, it's going to pick up a pebble or two, or possibly 2 pebbles. No, it can only pick up 1 pebble from these strings, can't it? Because each one of these pebbles is at least 8. So if it was 32 and we added 8 to it, we'd get 40. And what I've just noticed is that we can't then pick up any more pebbles. This is the point. This 32 string along here, it's only going to pick up one more pebbles worth of digits, because if it picked up 2 pebbles from this row, each of the pebbles in this row is worth at least 8, so it would be picking up 16 plus 32 is 48's worth of digits in a 9-cell region. That necessitates a repeated digit because of the secret. And if it only picks up 1 pebble and a small pebble from row 2, it can't take a pebble from row 3 because the pebble from row 3 is too big. 47, that's more than 45. So the only way the 32 can work at all is if there is 1 pebble in this row that completely gives it everything it needs to be fully nourished, i.e. a 13 pebble. And the only way you can create a 13 pebble in row 2 is if that is a 13 pebble, because this is the maths that we did earlier. Let me put that as a 13 pebble. If this is a 13 pebble, all of those pebbles have to be 8, because each individually is at least 8. So we can make those 4 8. That gives us a 13 pebble, which is going to go with the 32 pebble. And that completes one of the regions. Now, the weird thing about this is I have no idea still at this juncture how to draw this. Well, okay, here is something though. I'm wondering if I can get a handle on how many cells this 32 is. Because I don't think, for example, this 13 can be 4 cells large, can it? Because we know that there are 9 cells altogether catered for by these 5 pebbles. Now, I could put an 8 in one of these pebbles, but then the other 3 pebbles would have to be one. In fact, do they have to be that anyway? 1, 7, 2, 6, and 3, 5. That would make those pebbles count for 7 cells, which would allow a 2-cell 13 cage. I think that must be how it works. Because if any one of these 8, if any one of these 8s was a 3-cell sum, even if we had one of the others as being a 1-cell sum, the number of cells taken by the 8s would be 8 cells, and that would mean leave us only 1 cell for the 13. So the 13 is 2 cells. One of these 8s is a solitary 8 to take up 1 cell. The other 3 8s are all 2 cells, so they are 1, 7, 2, 6, and 3, 5. And this is a 4, 9 pair. And right, I'm starting to see weirdnesses emerging from the fog here, although this isn't a fog of war puzzle, because the 4, 9 pair that lives in this row and is purple, that must correspond, because that 4, 9 pair cannot appear in the 32 cage. Yes, the 32 cage, or 32 sequence in the top row, is now 7 cells long, isn't it? Because we're only picking up 2 cells for this 13 clue. Now, if it's 7 cells long, 1, 2, oh, don't restart my computer, you naughty thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, so it's these cells are definitely all purple. And one of these dominoes is a 13 made up of a 4, 9 pair, which corresponds to the 13 in this row, which is also a 4, 9 pair. But hang on. That must be part of that, mustn't it? So this is a 4 or a 9. And on one side of it is its equivalent digit. That is that is purple. Yes. Or maybe. I'm not sure actually. Oh, of course. Here's another way of thinking about it. But this purple region never goes out of row 2. It's picking up all its cells from row 1 and row 2 together. And that means this sum is 15, which means it cannot include a 4. So that's a 9, that's a 6, there's a 4 in one of these squares. Pregnant pause while I try and work out what that means. Do I know which side that 4 goes? There might be a way of telling. If it goes there. Oh, 9. Oh, this is beautiful. It's so simple, but you have to see it. Right. Okay, so let's think about how these 9s are made up. One of these is an individual 9. Well, it's not that one, because there would be 2 9s in purple. So that's a 2-cell sequence summing to 9, which means it's got to be... Which forces this to be purple, which forces that to be the 4, because we know there's only 2 purples in row 2. So we're here now. We've got... This is... Right, I need to go to shape outlining abilities. So we're in this sort of situation. Now, in row 2, we need... This is the 13. Right, and these 3... Well, we don't know what the order is, but we know that 3 of these 8s are 2 cells, don't we? So there is a solitary 8 in one of those squares. In fact, I want to say one of those 2. If it was that one, that wouldn't work, because that would leave a single cell on both sides of it. Yes, right. So one of these is an actual 8, and it is corresponding to a solitary 8 here. So, right, so that means I can draw that in. That must be legitimate. Let's do some shading. These are different regions. Because each one of these must be in a domino adding up to 8. Now, what do we get from that? Anything useful? Quite possibly. I haven't got anything yet. It's a fascinating idea, this puzzle, isn't it? It really is original. So whichever one of these is an 8. It can't take... Oh no, hang on, it can. I'm just trying to work out how it works with the 4-9 in row 1, because there's a 4-9 region on one side or the other that has to collect 7 more cells from other rows. So it's going to emerge. So it could do something like this and then come out further. But in this row, there's a dramatic reduction in the number of regions, by which I mean this row has 5 different regions in it, but this row only has 3 different regions in it. And yet hardly any of these, only the 13 is going to complete a region. So these 4 regions, the ones that are involved in 8s, all need... Hang on, have I broken this already then? They all need extra cells. But there's only 3 regions. Oh, I see, right. Yeah, okay, but because 4 regions, these 7 squares in row 2 are all incomplete regions. They're all part of incomplete regions, by which I mean the maximum size of any of these regions by the point they've completed, they've taken as the cells they're going to take from rows 1 and rows 2 together is 4. So imagine this was a 4-9 pair and it joined with red. That would be a 4-cell region. It still needs 5 more cells, so it's still going to have to get cells from this row. And obviously if these were purple and these were a 4-9 pair, this 4-9 pair will join up with something here, and that could be a 4-cell region. But there are 4 regions here that need loads more cells, and yet there are only 3 different regions present in row 3. So that means that something in row 3 has to take, it has to take 2 of the regions from row 2. And I think that means that that cell, and possibly this one, have to be in the same region as this one. Because if I try and join this red region, for example, to something over here, I'm never going to be able to do that in 9 cells, such that I can leave green being able to take 9 cells. If green takes 9 cells, however we do that, that's still not enough, is it? I think that's still only 8. And then I surround red with that, like that, and then I have another region here, for example, that takes all those. You can see that although I have in some sense fulfilled the obligations of row 3, I've only got 3 different well, actually, no, that's not right. Even that's not right, is it? Because I'm noticing now I've got 4 different contiguous segments in this row. So that's just total and utter nonsense. Yeah, so the only way this can possibly work is if that connects like that, then I can have just 3 segments in row 3. And I will deal with the problem that I've got to get 4 regions out of row 2. So this is forced. It's not actually that helpful, is it? It doesn't, for example, tell me whether 2, 3. It gives me a 7-cell region, so I've got 2 more cells to add to this. The 15, that must be at least a 2-cell region in this column. Now, if we could right, here's something interesting. If we could prove that wasn't a 9, that would complete the green region, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That would do it. So why can't that be a 9? Oh, look, right, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. Okay, here's something interesting, I think. Right, if that square's an 8, which is the only way that we don't take an extra green cell here. So imagine this cell here is an 8. But then this domino here can't add up to 15. Because 6, 9 doesn't work, and we can't use 8, so it can't be 7, 8. And that would force this to be green in order to create enough cells to add up to 15 in the column. Now, why do I think that's interesting? Well, I think that allows me to do that. Because what we're saying is either the final green cell is that one, or it's that one, depending on whether this is an 8. But one of those is the last green cell. If this isn't 8, that's green. If this is 8, that's green. So, okay, I can do a bit more. I can do that. But now this is great, because now, look, that's become a 9. So I was trying to prove that wasn't a 9. Actually, I'm now convinced it is a 9. Now, what does that mean? I'm sure that means something very important. Well, I'll tell you one thing I'm going to do as a result of that. I'm going to I'm going to draw those line segments in down this column, because we know everything else in this column is a 2-cell sequence. So okay, and therefore I can draw that line in, because this can't connect to this 2-cell sequence, otherwise green would have too many digits. Maybe I make that a new colour. That's definitely a new colour. Orange, I'll make it. Because it's either a 1 or a 2-cell sequence, but it's definitely not green, it's definitely not purple. Okay. Right, I'm stuck again. What's this one telling me? It's telling me that, oh, this is the one that's, no, this is the one I think this one's quite tricky, because we could have lots of low pebbles, then a 9, and then an enormous pebble. So I'm not sure how, or we could have a whole sequence of 9s there, and then this be a 9 as well. So that's not telling us an awful lot. I don't think, anyway. Is it more weird? Oh, I don't know. No, I really don't know. What's this one saying? This is saying that somewhere down this column there is a 13 segment, and somewhere there's something bigger than 13. But again, if this was a 1, for example, there could be an enormous 31 segment somewhere in the column. Now, oh, I tell you something I could do. Yeah, is it legitimate to say both of those are orange? I'm just thinking, because I've only got three segments in row 3. And I know orange can't have enough to be completed in the top. So orange definitely comes into, yeah, so those two are both orange. This might also be orange. And indeed both of those might be orange as well. But those 3 are in the, so those 3 are all red. Yeah. Okay, well that's interesting. No jokes, please. Okay. So, right, so this clearly isn't the 7 segment, is it? So if that was the 7 segment, that would be 1, 2, 4. Is that difficult or not? Oh, sorry. I'm sure this is easier than I'm making it now. I'm feeling like I'm not spotting something obvious. Oh, I can do that line segment as well, so I will. We don't know enough about this row, though. That's very annoying, isn't it? Okay. Where should we look now? I'm sort of reluctant to move too far away from the top of the grid. It feels like the start we've got at the top is really important to sort of milk as much as we can. I'd love to know if there's a way we can tell which is the final green cell. If this was 7, 8, and that was green, what would we know then? We know one of these is purple, and one of these is either red or orange. Ah, that's it. Right, that's not green. Wow, okay, it's very simple again, but I'm just being very slow at getting my head around the rules. If that's green, this square here has to be not green, because green is finished. So whatever colour this is, whether it's orange or whether it's purple, how do we make this work? We can't. The second biggest pebble is 13, which is a 2-cell sequence. And there's this pebble, which is a 1-cell sequence, and this pebble, which is a 1-cell sequence. And that's impossible with this geometry. So actually we know, and we have known, if you've understood the rules, or if I'd understood them, that was never green, which means that that's forced, which means that's forced, which means this is 8, this is green, this is not 8, this is orange, because orange must therefore be a 2-cell sequence. Now, has that helped us a lot? I mean, it's helped us a little bit for sure. These are both blue now because there's only 3 sequences here. And in fact, 8 is not in green, is it? So 8 is in this blue sequence. Right, so this is ridiculous. This has to be 1, 2, 4, 8 because we need it to add up to 15 and it's a 4-cell sequence, which means these squares are 3, 5 and 7, I want to say. Which means these squares are 1, 2, 4, and 6. Is that true? Seems to be. 2, 4 and 6. Okay. And those have to add up to 8. That's beautiful and ridiculous. That means this is a 2, 6 pair, which means these are a 1, 4 pair. So these squares are 1, 7s and 3, 5s. And now the 7 can't be a 3-cell sequence because it would be 1, 2, 4 and it would clash with this. So this is a 2-cell sequence that sums to 7 and it must be 2, 5. And therefore there's no 5 in those sequences, which means there's no 3 in those sequences, which means this becomes a 3, 5. There's no 5 there, look. So hang on, what's going on now? So we've got a 7. We've got some quite large number here, which is 14 plus this digit. Yeah, and because we don't know what these are, I don't think we're going to be able to know anything, are we, about some of these 3 digits. I'm not sure. There might be a way to know, but it's not apparent to me, at least, how to do that. Oh. Right, hang on. The lowest combo in this row is a 7. So if that was a 3 or a 5, it would be broken. So that is a 7. So that's 7, that's 3, that's 5. Now by default I'm going to get these red digits. Those have got to be 6, 7 and 8 actually. By sudoku. And we still, unless I'm missing something, I still don't know which side the purple, the non-purple 4, 9 is on. That's weird, isn't it? That is weird. So, oh, come on, Simon. So this 7 has been done. Oh, well that's quite useful. Because that means this sequence is different from this sequence. Because there are only 3 sequences in this row. And we can't connect those 3 cells to there and then to there, or it's in some weird, wonderful way. That's not going to work. So, now... no. I was about to say this could be orange, but I don't think that's legitimate, is it? If this was orange... I could join up orange with one of these 2 squares and make a 9-cell region, but there wouldn't be enough. Whatever was left would just be an isolated 3-cell region, which doesn't work. So this needs to be its own colour. We'll make it red because it can't be the same as this. And now... It still can work, I think. If we pick up, if those were both orange and then 3 of these were orange and 1 of these was red, the world would make sense. Bobbins McBobbins McBobbins face. That's very annoying. Right, now this sequence of yellow digits, which must be one of these clues, that definitely doesn't join up with red. Because obviously that's going to break the world, isn't it? Because if we were to make all these the same region, they would have at least 10 cells in that region. Okay, so red has to be core 8, but I can see how red could be core 8. If both of those are purple and all of those were red, that would make a very natural region. But if red takes both of those, red's going to have 7. It just needs to take 2 of these. Right. Okay. Tricky. If that's red, then this clue must be that pebble. Which it could well be, but it would, because these, if this was minimized, 3 and 6 is already 9, so this would be at least a 10, which means it would be that clue. But I don't think there's a problem with that. Hang on. This 9 clue, this being a red sequence makes that red. So hang on, can we? No, this is still fine, isn't it? If both, so now the only way these two are both orange is if it's exactly that shape. And then this would be a 4-9 pair in orange. And these squares would be 3, 6, and 8. And that looks very reasonable to me, actually. So this would be orange, this would be purple, and all of these would be red. Now the alternative... Oh, well, hang on. Hang on. This has been broken for ages. I just didn't spot it. No, if both of these are purple, how does orange get enough digits now? It can't. So this has been completely clear. We've got to do this. We've got to do this. This has got to be a 4-9 pair. Now these squares have all got to be orange to make orange have 9 cells. We can delineate them like so. We can draw this in. We can draw that in, because red now has to take exactly those squares, and we know what these digits are. These are 1, 2, 4, and 9. We know what these 3 digits are. These are 3, I want to say 6 and 8. So by a process of elimination, we know that that digit is a 7, which is rather cool. Oh, but we don't get any clues for this. So but hang on. The 9 clue must work then. So that's got to be 7, 2. So these squares are 1, 8, and 3, 6. And do we know what that corresponds to in terms of those 3 clues? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I thought maybe I could conclude it was going to be at least not this one, but it could be that one, I think, if we take a lot of minimal digits. Right, so what on earth do we do next? I don't know. I don't know again. Oh, we ground to another of these halts. 15 here. These are all the same. What about... what's going on in terms of... We've got one region here. We've got a blue region there. We don't know whether blue takes these cells or not. 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, we've got to think about things from a mod 9 perspective, don't we? In the sense that any white cells we're joining to regions, we've always got to be thinking about adding up to 9 somehow. And there we've got 12, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Okay. So we could, what could we do here? We could have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now we could have one more region. But then everything else needs to get out. So there are only a couple of regions down in this bottom area. Oh, I'll tell you something we might be able to prove. If we drew that in, is what we've got left mod 9 or not? I don't think it is. 15 and 6 is 21. No, very much not. Right. So one of these is blue. Exactly one of them is blue because they can't both be blue, or this line segment here wouldn't be valid. I'm just going to paint one of them in as blue. I'm going to paint one of them in as purple. I just want to have a think about this in terms of how it works. So how is that going to work? We've got 12 white cells there. 2. We can't join, well, in that instance. In fact, yeah, red could never be the same as this region. And in this variant, red can't be the same as this region either. So red needs its own extra 4 cells, which it's not getting from here or here. And purple, or if this was purple and this was blue, purple would need another 7 cells. So these 12 cells here are getting divided up. 4 go with red, 7 go with purple, and 1 must go with blue. Okay, so blue needs to trespass into one of these squares. And obviously blue might be down here, so we can't say one of those is blue. But blue has to take one of, in fact blue has to take one of those squares. I suppose that's a very legitimate way of thinking about it. Here's another thought. Because 1 and 8 have made an appearance in blue already, blue is taking a 3 and a 6 from here. So whichever one of these dominoes is blue is a 3-6 domino. And that's going to leave 5, 7 and 9 behind. So one of these would be 5, 7 or 9. And well, there would be 2 blue digits over here that would be 5, 7 or 9. Okay. Can we use the 10 clue? Neither of these is a 5. So maybe, can I, no, you can do it. 2 ways, in fact. 2, 8 and 4, 6 across that domino. I was wondering if I could use the fact that this has to be part of a 10 domino to join it or not join it with the purple. But actually, if it does join with purple here, you can make 2, 8 and 4, 6 work. In fact, it may even be likely to work. Right, so that's annoying. That is annoying. So how do we do this then? Which part of this is meant to be clear to people? This one is either 5 9s, or this is quite a low digit, and these have to take up the slack, so they could be 10, 11, 12 or something. I don't know whether these are together or not. I've got to be really careful about this. In fact, what I should do is that. That's far more sensible, isn't it? That will stop me from making a ricket of the logic down there. Okay, so where's the next natural place to look? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Red needs to take 4 of these white cells. I want those to be there for some reason. That feels like a very natural region to draw. That would put 4 purples in this column. I have to be a bit careful here, actually. Yeah, there's definitely something going on in the bottom row. And the reason I was thinking that was I was wondering about this square's colour. Because... yeah, let's go with that. If this is purple, which means that's purple above it, and these are both blue. So we're saying these two are in different regions. Okay, this is the hypothesis we're going to work on. Well, in that situation, this square, because this isn't a 5, we know that's purple. And now we know these two are some other colour. What other colour can they possibly be? They can't both be red. They're the same colour, because we can't put one of these as a 5 and one of these as a domino adding up to 10. These have to be the same colour. Now, and they're not purple, because purple is done in its domino. Now, if we join these to red, even if we do it very efficiently, red has become a 10-cell region. And we can't join it to blue, because we know blue only gets 1 more cell from this column. So this is wrong. It's quite clearly wrong. And that's going to be absolutely massive, because that allows us to conclude that this is blue, and this is purple, and this therefore adds up to 10, which means we can fence it in here. Now this is an interesting sequence, because this has to include a single 5 in one of those 2 squares, exactly the same as the way the 8 worked in row 2. Now, well, that is not the single 5, because if that was the single 5, it would have to get out, and in doing so it would cut off blue, and we know blue is getting 1 more cell. In fact, where is the cell blue gets from these white cells? It must be here, which means this is not the single 5. This is the domino, which must be purple, because it can't be red, or red would be too large. So that's got to sort of creep up here to get to connect with purple. So this is some sort of region, but this is a new colour. This is not purple. So that's the 5 in the corner, which must be red. And now how do we connect red up? We do that, and red has become 9 cells, and that finishes off purple. Good grief. That's very, very, very interesting and extremely cunning setting. And, oh, hang on, no, all right. Okay, we know that this is now not 1-8, don't we? This is 3-6. This is 1-8. That's not 5. 5 is doing something at the top. 5 goes here, 2 goes here. 5 in purple. Oh, it's nearly restricted. It's in one of those 2 squares. This square is from 5, 7, or 9, and it's not 5. Okay, that is 7 or 9. So 5 in blue, is in one of those squares. That's not actually helpful, is it? It felt like it might be, but it didn't actually do anything clever. These 2 squares, hang on, these 2 have to add up to 10. And now, right, that's only one way this works, and that's 6, 4. I've just realised as I've put that in that I was saying that 2, 8 was a possible domino here. That was never possible because the 2 and the 8 in blue had been used up. I just didn't notice that. So 6 and 4 go in, which means this is 3. This is huge. How do we make that domino add up to 10 if it can't be 1, 9, 2, 8 or 4, 6? It's 3, 7. Oh, bother. It is 3, 7, but I don't think we can do anything with it. How annoying. So these squares over here are 1, 2, 8 and 9, and we can fence them off from each other. In fact, we know, is it worth colouring this in? It might be, because this is definitely not blue because of the way that this row works out. Okay. So has this helped? The answer is quite probably yes. But we've still got some thinking to do. We've very much still got some thinking to do. I don't know what to do. We could... Oh, hang on. I have seen one thing. What is that clue now? Well, that clue must be this cell, mustn't it? Because that cell can't be bigger than 9. So it must correspond to the smallest pebble in this column. And that means this isn't allowed to add up to more than 13. 10, and that fixes it. That's absolutely beautiful. Oh, hang on. I better be careful here, because could that add up to 13? And then this could be an astronomically bigger number. That is possible. So can those add up to 13? Well, we'd have to have 3. No, no, because 1 isn't involved in these. So the minimum these can be is 2, 3, 4, 5, which they can't actually be. But if they were 2, 3, 4, 5, they'd add up to 14. That's too many. It's bigger than 13. There is a knowledge bomb for you. So this is 13, and we have to take minimums. So let's do that. So that's 4. That's 1. That's 3. That 8 just actually does bonus work. This is 3. This is 7. Okay, so now 2, 7. This is a 9, 8 pair. In red needs a 9 and an 8, and we know the order. Now these squares have got to be 2, 6 and 9. I'm going to put that in the hope it sheds some light on the world. These squares are 5 and why can't I see that? 5 and 4. That's useful because that does that digit. 1 and 4 go into the grid. That's no longer 4. And can we keep this going? Yeah, that's a 7 now by sudoku. So now in this column we've not put in a 2. So I will do that. These squares are 1, 3, 7 and 8. Don't seem to be able to do it. These squares are 1, 3, 4 and 6. Can we do anything with those? That one's not 3. I'm getting quite pencil marky here, aren't I? That shows how worried. Right. Okay. Well, now I'm going to use this segment because that is clearly a small number and it's smaller than 9, so it corresponds. I could colour that in. Whatever goes in that cell, which we'll only know once we work this out, but it corresponds to this. So this isn't allowed to add up to. Well, every clue in this row now adds up to at least 9. Right, so doesn't that mean that this has to grow? If we did that, surely this row's broken now because we know red corresponds with this one. Yeah, that doesn't work. So that's blue, and possibly this is blue as well, but that is definitely blue. And that means we've now got 8 cells of blue. And do we know what digit that is then? We know what the options are. That's 5 or 9. That's a shame, isn't it? That really would be useful. I'm just wondering if there was a reason you couldn't have one of those as the other 5 or 9 in blue, but it looks like that's possible. And if that was blue, That doesn't seem to break anything in the row either. Okay. All right, so we need to find some other clever trickiness to progress now. Where should we look for that? So this was red. These squares, well, we can't. Yeah, we need to be a little bit careful in those to make sure they add up to at least 9, but not very. I've got a horrible feeling it's this section of pedals that we're going to have to look at now, which is a very daunting thought. Hang on, that square's got to be orange, I suppose. Because if it wasn't, orange could only be 3 cells large. So that's orange. 2, 3, 4. There's one more blue to take. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right, so orange is different from yellow. Because the only way to connect orange and yellow in a 9-cell region would be to do that. That is 9 cells. But that leaves 2 cells isolated, one of which can be blue, but both can't be blue, or blue would have 10 cells. So what that means is, so is this yellow? Is that what we're proving here? How many regions have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 3 more regions, 7. Yes, so yellow and orange are the last 2 regions in the puzzle, which means this must be yellow, otherwise we're creating a new region. And this is absolutely beautiful, because how do I connect these up without isolating cells? All of those have to be yellow. All of these are now orange, because blue can't reach them. That blue can't reach that cell. And now all of a sudden this column might actually pay some dividends to investigate, mightn't it? Oh! Hang on, I've got a problem. Because I made this red. And that's a 1-cell region that has to add up to at least 9. That is a 9 then. And this must be 2 cells. Because if it was 1 cell, it would have to add up to at least 9, and it can't. I'm slightly worried this is broken now, because this is getting very scary along here. Oh, look, that's become 5 now. Or this has to be 8. Because otherwise it wouldn't add up to at least 9. So that's quite interesting. I'm actually thinking this might be right now. Because it's suddenly actually working, isn't it? That's 5, that's 4. This is not 9. That's not 1. So 2, 3, 4, 6. 2, 3, 4, 6. 9 comes out of this square. 9 in yellow. This is not 1, 9, is it? That's got to be 2, 8. So this has got to be 1, 9. What does that mean? 7? 7? Where does 7 go in yellow? Not there, and not in those squares. So 7 goes there. That doesn't do anything, but it was nearly clever. 2, 7, 9. That digit, 1, 3, 4, or 6, goes there. Because it's got to appear in yellow. And it's not the same as those digits. So that digit is 1, 3, 4, or 6. And it's not 3. I'm going to take advantage of that. It's a bit of a rinky-dink point, but we might as well use it. Oh, look. This is still giving. This row. If that was a 2, we'd need a clue that added up to 7. And we've already know that this red clue is the only clue that adds up to less than 9. So that's got to be a 6. Which means that's not 6. These are not 6. Oh no, it is broken. It is broken, isn't it? It's broken here. Oh. How was I meant to... What have I done wrong there? That felt like it was working. And then it's all gone wrong. Oh, well, hang on. I've got too many 4s in this row. That might be why it's gone wrong. Did I pencil mark incorrectly? Let's go back. How did I arrive at these being 2, 3, 4, or 6? That's clearly wrong, and that's great. That is good news, believe it or not. So what we can do, I think, is take these pencil marks out. Study this, which is correct, because that derived from the 5 here, and resolve the 4-5 pair. Note this has to be a large digit, so that is 6. Note that this is now, so this square here is 3 or 4, corresponding to this. And what have we got left? Oh, now we've got 7 left, have we? As the other digit. Okay, that's grand. We can still get rid of the 1, 9 here. We can get rid of the 2, 8 here. So this becomes 1, 9. I mean, the only thing, we know there's a 7 in this domino, and whether it's partnering a 3 or a 4, it will add up to enough to make this work. So I think probably what we need to do is to look at this next. But let me just mull that over for a second. Yeah, neither of those can be 9. So 2 of these is taken up by yellow. That is not 9, so that's the third one. So we've got a 9 in one of those has to add up to 9. Which one? This could only add up to 9 if it was 2, 3, 4. And this can add up to 9. No, this can't add up to 9 because that's at least 3. So 3 and 6 is 9 already. This cannot add up to 9. So this does add up to 9, which means it is 2, 3, 4 because it doesn't have a 1. Good grief. Wow. So that's 7. If this is 2, 3, 4, that's 5. That's 3. This is not 2 or 4. This is not 3. This is now 8, look, so that's 2 in the corner. No song for a 2 in the corner. That's not 8. That's not 8. So what are we left with here? What's going on in this column? 1s, 6s, 7s and 9s. So that square is a 1 or a 6. And that means 9 in this column actually only has one place to live. Aha! There we go. These squares have got to be from 5, 6 and 8. And that's a naked single, therefore. That's got to be 6. This is from 5 or 8. And in fact, that's beautiful. Because the other digit we need in orange is a 5 or an 8. And it simply cannot go there because it couldn't be 5 or 8. So that completes the shape of orange and the shape of blue. We can now delineate those knowing we've actually deduced, I think, the correct form of the grid. We haven't put 9 in blue yet. That fixes the 9 and the 1 at the bottom, which gives me a 2 here, a 2 and a 6 up here. This square here is now not 1. So it looks like this square here is a 3 naked single. And this is a 7 or an 8, and it's not 7. So that's 8. That's 7, that's 1. Let's take 1 and 7 out of these squares at the top. This is now a 6. And slowly but surely we're getting this sorted out, I think. This is a 5. So that gives me a 1, 4 pair in this column. That square is a naked single 8. Means that's oh no, that's another opportunity for a 3 in the corner. No 3's in the corner today. Oh bobbins. This is a 5 because of the 1, 4 pair. So we need a snooker maximum in yellow. 1s, 4s and 7s. So the 7 can only go there. That does the 7 and the 6. And this is 1 or 4 and doesn't seem to be resolved. That's not 3. That's, don't know, 2, 3 and 4, that's not 4. So that's 3, that's 2, that's 4, that's 3, that's 1, that's 1, that's 4, that's 4, that's 1. This is 6 by sudoku, that's a 4 by sudoku. And we just need the 1 and the 2 and the 2 and the 9, and I think we have finally, I could fill in all of the clues. Shall I do that? I should do it, shouldn't I? Let's do it. So we've got a full grid of of stuff. That's 21, which is the sum of those. This is 17, so we need to put a 1 as the big digit and a 7 in the middle. Now that's the 7 there. And then we've got, well, how are we going to do this? We've got 18 there, so that's the next clue, 18. So that's an 8 with a 1. And then this is 20, so we've got to put a 2 there and a 0. Now what on earth is going on here? This is a 3. And then the 9 is that, oh, there are 2 9 clues. And then we've got an 11 clue. I don't know how, yeah, I think we are going to be able to do that. And then a 13 clue, so that's 3 with a 1. And we've just got, okay, we are getting there. So now this column, we've got an 8 clue that we've not put in. The 13 clue is that one. So we've got to sum these digits, which is 24. So we can do that. So that's 4 with a 2. And now it's just this one. Okay, well, I've got a 1. So that goes there. 1. Then we've got a 6. Then we've got an 8. Now there should be a 9, which we know is that one. And then we've got a 21 there, which is going to be 1 with a 2 in the corner. And I think the solution is correct. It knows somehow. It knows that that's the solution. That's fantastic. What a brilliant puzzle. I felt incredibly slow on that. So for those of you who sometimes moan that we go a bit quickly, I think you cannot say that I went quickly there. I felt completely lost at many occasions. But what I loved is that it's really quite remarkable the way that these pebbles work, and you can sort of grow the regions. And there were loads of points where I was so abysmally slow, like not working out that this green couldn't go there because it would break the number of regions in this column. I think this is a puzzle form that if you did 2 or 3 of these puzzles, lots of the logic would come so much more quickly. But hats off to Agent for making that. That was really, really, it was fascinating and fully deserving its incredibly high, indeed perfect rating. Loved it. Let me know in the comments how you got on. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.